Welcome to FIRECAST Elementary. For today's FIRECAST, we'll be talking to the members of the Dream Team and their CMPS project, Project Snooze. Welcome to FIRECAST. For this episode, we're at FIRECAST, and I'm here with Lena Burchett, one of the coaches of our CMPS team. Lena, how did your team realize that there was a problem?
At the beginning of the school year, the first time that we met with the students, we were talking about all the different possibilities of topics for this year. And they came up with all different kinds of ideas, helping the elderly in nursing homes, veterans. But then they said, you know, we want to do something within our school. And some of the students mentioned, you know, there's kids in our class that are always falling asleep. I wonder why that happens. And we let them talk with some teachers, and they realized that this was a common occurrence in all classrooms. That, you know, at least a few times a year, there's those kids that just can't seem to stay awake. And so the kids wanted to try to find out what the cause of that was, why these kids were always so tired.
So as a classroom teacher, did you see any students that were falling asleep?
Yes, I have that problem often. And it can be for varying reasons, but when we started looking into it, the kids said, let's send a survey. Let's figure out what time are these kids going to bed? What time are they getting up in the morning? You know, are they playing games, video games all night? But then we started realizing the problem was that some of these kids didn't have a bed to sleep in at night.
So that was really surprising.
Right. We didn't realize that some children were sleeping on air mattresses, couches, or even several were sleeping on floors.
So the team got the idea to purchase beds and other bedtime essentials for the kids that didn't have them. How did they go about earning the funds?
Their first event really was set up at the Kentucky Apple Festival, and they gave out all kinds of flyers and information to people walking by, talking about, you know, appropriate bedtime and things to help children get a better night's sleep. And some people were so interested in their project and looking at their shirts, they were like, wow, I want to try to help. And so they started giving donations. So that it wasn't a large amount of money there at the Kentucky Apple Festival, but that's kind of where we got our start. And shortly thereafter, some of the children said, you know, hey, I'd like to ask my church members and see if they would be interested in helping. And that's really where we got our start. We're from about 3 of the team members' churches. You know, they just passed the offering plate, and the families at the church really felt this was a major problem, and they wanted to be a part of helping to solve the problem.
So aside from donations from individuals and churches, what are some of the other things that the kids did to earn money?
They have sold items such as smelly pencils here at school that helped them earn money. They did a fundraiser of 31 bags that raised them a great deal of money. When people heard of where the money was going, they were very willing to participate in the fundraisers. They've also hosted dances here at school to earn extra money on their own.
So I know we were talking before and you told me we had a great deal of community support. What are some of the resources within the community that have helped us out with this project?
There have been so many individuals, some pretty much even strangers to most of us. They'll just stop by the office and say, here, you know, I've seen and heard about your project. I've seen it on the news. I've seen it on Facebook. You know, I just want to give. I want to help. And then we've also had banks in the area who helped us tremendously. Then we've had the Kiwanis. We've got a donation from them. Churches, like I said, was a huge part in the beginning of getting us up on our feet, and our initial purchases started being made then. And the Pierre School donated bedding, and even King's Daughters Medical Center in Prestonsburg in the very beginning, they came right to us. They said, here are 6 bedding sets. We want to help. The CAP office, Christian Appalachian Project, has been a big help with us with pillows and blankets. Even the public library, the Needlework Circle, has crocheted blankets that we're giving to children also.
So how many beds have been given away so far?
In December, we had a bed event here at school that was to give to our first round of children. Initially, we thought we had about 10 children in the school that needed bed. Well, that number just kept quickly rising. We did paper flyers sent home to students with surveys, and then we also did an online survey. But I think it was just word of mouth, and then people hearing in the community that their neighbor's child got a bed, and then they're like, hey, my kid doesn't have a bed. Can you help me too? So by the time we had our event in December, 16 beds were given that night. But even before January 1, that number increased by 10. So we had given 26 beds total the first round. And all these children were either current or former W.R. Castle students.
So I know that the efforts to earn more money for beds is continuing. How many beds are you working to purchase this round?
We were so fortunate that the funding just kept coming in. We had 2 large donations that helped us tremendously. We made contact with Chris Stapleton, and him and his wife were so impressed with the project. They wanted to help all Johnson County students, not just W.R. Castle. So they gave us $5,000 towards our project, and shortly thereafter, Citizens National Bank had shown their interest in our project, and they donated $2,500. That was, a tremendous help to our second phase of our project. So we are currently working to give 50 more children beds and the bedding that goes along with it, and those children should receive their items in the next week or 2.
So one last question. How do you think this is going to impact the overall school and community? What impact will it have?
It's had a huge effect. These children, we just take it for granted. We think that every child has a bed to sleep in, but that is definitely not the case. So now we know these children have a nice, comfortable bed to sleep in each night. They're more alert, they're more rested for school. And, one thing that one of the parents said, she received 2 beds for her children. They were both sleeping on couches. One was on a love seat and the other was on a couch. She said, I can tell you, I know that God definitely had a hand in this. She said, I would never have been able to purchase beds on my own.
Okay, so we were just talking to Miss Burchett, Lena Burchett, the coach of the W.R. Castle CMPS team, and she was letting us know all about her team's project. Thanks for watching. I'm Heather Kimball, and I'm here with Mrs. Sloan from W.R. Castle. Ms. Sloan is going to be telling us about what she's observed happening in her classroom as a result of this program. So, Ms. Sloan, you had a student that received help from the project and decided to pay it forward. Can you tell us about this?
Yes, sure. One of my students was a recipient of one of the beds that Project Snooze distributed during one of their events that took place right before Christmas break. And during that event, my student received a brand new bed. She received different sleeping essentials such as a comforter, sheet set, pillow, and pajamas. And before Project Snooze was able to provide her with those items, she let me know that she didn't have her own bed at home to sleep in, and she didn't have her own bed at home to sleep in, and instead she was sleeping on a couch in her living room, and it wasn't a comfortable environment for her, and she rarely got a good night's sleep. And then after receiving the material, she was telling me all about it, and she had a huge smile on her face and could not be more appreciative and thankful for receiving those items. And really, more than anything, she couldn't believe that, the reason why all that was possible. She was so, just so grateful that students at her school had put themselves before others and were providing those things to her. So then what happened was just really special because those students inspired her to do something similar. And she came to me with an idea for one of her birthday wishes. And she let me know that her birthday was coming up in January and that her wish was that she wanted to give instead of receive. So she talked to her family at home and came in and talked to me about it. And she decided that she wanted to raise money to help other students at the school who were in need of different items to keep them warm and comfortable during the winter time. So she started doing just that. The principal approved it, and she took up a donation at school. And after she collected, she actually met with you and Mrs. Burchett and decided to donate the money that she had raised to Project Snooze so they could turn around and help others in need. So, the project that helped her just weeks earlier, she wanted to turn around and give right back to it to continue helping others. So it was something really special that happened.
Do you think other students were positively impacted by this as well?
Yes, I definitely do. You know, although I've just interacted with a few and heard directly from them, I know that this project has reached out and helped so many within our school. I know that the first event that took place before Christmas break, you all were able to help out, you know, over 40 students and families from the school. And I know when the students had started the project, they identified a handful of students who were in need of beds who didn't have one at home to sleep in. And then the project just kept growing and growing. And, you know, as it continued, more students were identified, and the students who are working on the project just made the effort to, you know, find any way that they could through fundraising or sponsors, donors, things like that, to make it possible for these students to have those things. And then I know you all are getting ready to do another event where you're going to provide at least that many or more beds to students. So it just keeps growing, and it's amazing how many students the project is reaching.
So as a teacher, how does this make you feel?
More than anything, it makes me feel extremely proud of not only you know, the students who are doing it, but just the selflessness that they have to put themselves before others. As a teacher, you know, and I know all teachers probably feel the same way, one of, you know, things that we focus on most is teaching and making sure that our students are learning, you know, what's going on in the classroom and the content that we're giving them. But sometimes we lose sight of the fact that all that can't happen unless they come to school prepared, and that's if they were able to get a good night's sleep and that they're physically and mentally, you know, ready to go into that school day and to learn that information. And so the positive impact that these beds are having on the lives of these students is just tremendous. And it's not only, you know, short term by receiving this comfortable and positive sleeping environment that the students, you know, initially didn't have. Now they're going to have it. It's going to make an immediate impact on their life, and it will continue probably through the rest of their education, at least locally here, you know, in the Johnson County school system. So it's amazing to see what these students are doing, and it really just shows the character of the students and the families and the school and just the community as a whole.
So this is Mrs. Sloan and myself, and thank you for sharing the impact of how the project has affected your students, and thank you all for tuning in.
Our W.R. Castle Dream Team Project Snooze has been an amazing project to be involved with this year. It started out that initially we were able to give beds to 26 students that were current and former students of W.R. Castle Elementary. But fortunately, due to donations and funding, we were able to extend our project and offer it to all Johnson County students.
It's important that kids have a place to sleep and a place to call their own, and that kids get that good night's sleep. And it's important for their mental health, it's important for their emotional health, it's important for their health here at school. You know, it's so difficult as a teacher and as an educator to teach a child that has not had good sleep the night before.
Last year, Paint Lick Apartments, we had a bed bug infestation. Just about everybody got hit. We lost beds due to the bed bug problem, and fell on some hard times. So my daughter spent time sleeping on pallets on the floor. About October, November, we heard about the school donating the beds and stuff, and they asked if she would participate in it.
We have now serviced 76 children. We have covered every elementary school in Johnson County.
I've seen a lot of mood and improvement. I mean, some kids would come to school, they'd be just a bunch of grumps, and they'd fall asleep in class, and they'd give people the death stare. And now, after they've gotten a good night's sleep and they're resting in a comfortable environment, they come to school and they're just some of the most happy, cheerful people I've ever seen in my life.
The sustainability of this project is also that the students created a book, a bedtime book that will be shared with all the elementary school libraries and all the public libraries. So it will also contain information about good sleep habits and what to do when you have a bad dream at night and how to get back and have a restful night's sleep.
And who would think, you know, when you see kids with their heads down, you know, that's not what your first instinct is. Not, I bet they don't have a place to sleep. your first instinct is, they were up half the night video gaming.
It's a great learning experience for the children, and it shows that the community can come together in time of need. Everybody falls on hard times. Sometimes you just need a helping hand.
I'm Heather Kimball, and today I'm joined by the principal of W.R. Castle, Mr. Young. So, Mr. Young, could you tell us some things that set our school apart?
One of the things that really stands out immediately is the sense of community at W.R. Castle. And it seems that it's always been this way, and it's one of our true community-based schools, in that so many of our students live right here. Our parents went to this school. And just that sense of community, I think, is the biggest thing that sets W.R. Castle apart.
So you have some interesting programs going here at our school. Can you tell us about those?
And I think the most interesting one is the bed project. We do have several, but there's always that one that's kind of head and shoulders above all the rest of them. And I think the bed project is one of those. The way that it has taken off and kind of snowballed has been tremendous. The community has gotten behind it. And of course, that's one of the big things that we just said, that was community involvement in our school. And I think that the way it has snowballed has just been tremendous and it's been tremendous for everybody, for everyone involved, including individual students, as well as the CMPS team, teachers, and then even people we don't know, strangers to us.
So have you noticed a change?
We have noticed a change. What we've noticed is among the student body, people are looking at ways that they can give back to their community. We had one young lady who decided, instead of having a birthday party, that she decided that she didn't want a birthday party that year. She wanted her folks to take the money for that, and she wanted to donate it to a cause, a worthy cause here at school. And people, instead of buying her birthday presents, would just give her money for that. And so she raised a pretty good little amount of money and donated it to Project Snooze, because she felt like it was one of the most worthy, projects that we had. And so that type of thing illustrates what we've seen all across the building, and all across the community, as we've had different people who've just decided, churches taking up offerings, and to give beds to children. I mean, there's not a more worthwhile endeavor.
Is there anything else you want to say?
This project has really opened doors, and it's opened eyes, and not just here, but all across the community, and even away from here. And I don't know if you guys told the story about the guy from Mate One or not, but I think that is the one thing that shows that people have a heart for this type of thing, and this type of service project really hits people at home.
So you brought up a good point about the band from Mate One traveling to Pikeville to purchase a bed after hearing about our projects. So could you tell a little bit more about that?
Well, I'll tell as much as I know about it. I saw we had done a EKB broadcast, and a guy from Mate One had seen this and decided that the Lord laid it on his heart to donate a bed to our project. And so he called the reporter from EKB that did the story, and they met at Craig Dameron Furniture. And so the two of them picked out a bed, and they were going to buy it and donate it to, he was going to pay for it. Well, they got the manager there at Craig Dameron Furniture involved, and he just decided, keep your money, I'm going to donate it myself. And so we ended up getting a bed for a child out of that, and it was somebody that we didn't have any idea. We've never met this man. He just found it on, got it put on his heart to do that. And I think that is the type of thing, that tells us what this project can be. And we've been kicking around the Pay It Forward movie and those types of things. But the truth is that, this type of project helps make our community better. and it helps make ourselves better when we give to it. And so I believe the two of those together is really the key to this project.
So last year's team focused on fire safety. So we worked within our community to teach people how to be safe in the event of fire. And so we worked closely with the W.R. Castle Fire Department. And so when we first realized that not only do these people not have beds or the money to buy the beds, but also they didn't have transportation to go pick up the beds. That was our first thing that we thought about, was talking to the fire department. And they were very accommodating, and they went out and they made these visits.
Yeah.
And deliveries
for
us.
They're such good guys and ladies that are involved in it, but they really are, and they've got a heart for our community. And it is all volunteer, and they just came right out and took care of it and delivered them up hollers and through mud holes, and
Well, then also, because it was so close to Christmas, the fire department has a little Christmas party, and they had some toys that were donated. And so they even made some toy deliveries to our bed recipients.
Yeah.
That otherwise wouldn't have got those toys and things.
It really has. It's been something that the whole community can kind of jump on board with, because it is a worthy cause. It's not like we just made something up and said, hey, we're going to do this just because it's cutesy. This is something that was needed, and everybody kind of jumped on board, from, like you said, local churches to the local volunteer fire department, to business owners and to former students. And we've been able to give beds to several of the high school students that were former WR students. And now, as we branch out even more, because we just barely got ours taken care of, and we had another school say, hey, we've got 12 or 15 that need taken care of too. And we knew they did. There was no question. They've had that particular area has had the flood, and then you have all the different things that go along with that. But I think it's been really nice.
Thank you for joining us. This was Mr. Young and myself, Heather Kimball,